Myth number 5, raising capital can kill your business. And I know what you're thinking. This whole program is geared towards raising capital, and now you're telling me capital can kill my business? Yes and no. As I mentioned before, there can come a time when you have to say no to bad money. And the reason why is that some investors got their money by screwing founders over in terms of special conditions and the agreement that you sign. I experienced it with an early investor in one of my startups where the investor put veto powers on any future liquidity events, which included raising capital. In order for us to raise additional round, we actually had to buy his shares out for $100,000, which was 1/5 our round. So this is something that you have to keep in mind when you're raising capital. And after you've met with hundreds of investors and finally found the one that's in love with your business and ready to invest, you'll be on cloud 9, but this is the exact moment when the real dangers of raising capital sets in. Many founders get blinded by the potential money that they're about to receive and unwittingly hand over the keys to their new investor. And you've heard the horror stories of founders who, despite building a great business, were thrown out by their investors. And it happens to even the best entrepreneurs. Think of Steve Jobs and Apple. And it can sometimes cost you the rewards of your IPO, your exit. You have to keep in mind that throughout the negotiation process and closing your round, the investors have their best interest in mind, not yours, whether it be obligatory or malicious. They will try to give you everything that you need, but not everything you want. So here are the best ways to approach this step in the process and give you somewhat of an insurance against the aforementioned scenario. First thing is to get all of your issues on the table first, not piecemeal. So all of the business terms are relative, one to another, and putting them all within view allows you and your investor to see the big picture and then set a plan for how to work through item by item and to eventual agreement. Next, you want to draft and issue the first term sheet. And investors are going to tell you that they will issue the first term sheets, but they're often doing this with multiple startups. So leading the way will help them set the framework for the deal and avoid any delays. After that, take time to review and consider the terms proposed without accepting the first term sheet. Remember, you are a novice at negotiation and you need time to think things through. You simply need to tell them, okay, let me have my attorney review the terms and I'll get back to you shortly. They should have no issues with that statement, and if they do, run away as fast as possible. Next, rather than conceding to each demand, request something in return. For instance, investors will ask for a lot and not expect you to question their motives. It will not kill a deal to ask for something in return, and it often shows that you're a competent negotiator, which is a great sign to the investor. As an example, you can say something along the lines of, I think I can get comfortable with agreeing with your request on X if you would consider agreeing to allow me Y on business term Z. Next, you want to be diplomatic, so the same is true for you, the founder, to give the investor the things that they need and not want. Rather than saying you cannot agree with what they're proposing, you want to say, tell me what it is that you're trying to accomplish with this term. And you'll often hear the goal is completely different from their initial request and may be addressed through other means. The next tactic is disagreeing with their attorneys and not the investor. So whenever possible, try to disagree with their attorney, and you can shift the blame away from the investor on a disagreeable term. So they're not really big fans of their attorneys either, so it'll really be easy for them to understand when you say something like this. The last rule is that you need to be the one to keep the deal from going stagnant and staying positive. So investors are human and they will get fatigued at some point through this entire negotiation process, and you really can't afford to let this happen. It's your job to keep everyone energized and engaged, ending every single meeting with something like, we've made a lot of progress, or I think we're getting very close to making a deal. So to top things off, as much as your own ingenuity, talent, and persistence, the terms that you negotiate in your early rounds of capital financing will determine the future of your business. A crucial difference is that while your world and vision will shape the business day after day, you don't have the luxury of going back and correcting the mistakes that were made in the negotiation process. So treat the negotiation phase of your cap raise like a life and death matter. In business terms, it is exactly that.